Welcome back to another informative and exciting episode of podcast where we cover everything cannabis and hemp. If you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, please do so, as this will help us sustain our channel. And remember to cannabis responsibly at all times. Welcome to another episode of podcast. In this episode, Brother Fresh here is going to be showing you everything regarding water. How you water your plants, how you should be testing for your pH and all of those things. But yeah, Brother Fresh, over to you.
All right. Welcome back, guys, to another podcast. So what we're doing today, we're going to be dealing with pH correcting our water to make sure that the potential hydrogen is met, So why do you take pH? We take pH to make sure that the plant gets all of the nutrition and available food that it needs, because if your pH is too high, making your water alkaline, it creates a nutrient lockout. If your pH is too low, being your water is too acidic, then your plant can't get access to food. So pH actually makes sure that your plant is able to access the food that is available for it. So you could have as much food as you want in your pot, but if your pH is wrong, then your roots, your plant can't access the nutrition that's there. So what we have here is a pH pen. So a pH pen reads from the pH of 4 to 12.
What's the difference?
So 4 is acidic and 12 is alkaline. And 7 is neutral.
Okay.
So we want the pH of our plants to be slightly acidic, so we aim for the ranges of, in soil, we are aiming for between 5 and 6.
Okay.
For vegetative stage. But when we go into flower, we need that pH to be slightly higher, from 6 to 6.5. And that's the pH ideal for flower. So right now, this plant that we have transplanted in the previous episode needs some water. And this plant is still in veg, so we are going for a pH of around 5.7. So we now are going to check the pH of the water as it comes out from the tap. It's going up from 6 to 7.3 now. And it has stopped. While it's still going up. So the pH has stopped at 7.4.
Can you show us?
Let me try. Right there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the pH of the water right now. It's 7.48. 7.49. So we would just round that off to 7.5.
Okay.
So that's the pH of the water right now. And then, because 7.5 is not our desired pH for veg, we have to bring it down to 5.7. So how we do that, we add an hydroponic acid that brings the water down in terms of pH. So this is your pH down. So how you'd go about it is, I'm just gonna pour some here into the cap so it's easier for me to control. And then I would just add the pH down a drop at a time. So we just add a drop and then you stir, making sure that the pH down is fully incorporated in the water. Give it a nice stir, and then check the pH again. So it's giving mixed readings right now because it's still calibrating.
So core collaborating.
Okay, so that wasn't enough to bring this pH down. So we go in for another drop. So what I do, I added a few drops at a time as opposed to pouring it in. Because once you get the pH too low, then it's quite hard to bring it up. You need more acid. There we go. It's dropping now. It's dropping below 7. And it's continuing to drop. So you just wait for it to actually stop, and then you know what pH it's at. So now it's stopped at 6.65, 6.64, steadily going down. So it stopped at 6.5. So we still need to get it down to 5.7. So we add a few more drops of pH down. And we give it a nice stir. Then we come back down to check it in again. So I've added more pH than required. pH down, so it's actually dropping below 5 right now.
Is that a problem?
Yes, it is. So I intentionally did that so I can show how you get the pH up, because the question might have been what happens if you get it below 5.7. So if it's below 5.7 like now, which is at 4.7, we bring it up. And for that purpose, we use a pH up.
Let's see. The pH up.
Yeah, a pH up. So a pH up is an alkaline, a hydroponic alkaline that will adjust the pH of the water, to, bringing it up from an acidic to an alkaline state. So I'll just add a drop of pH up. It gets quite tricky though, to be quite honest. To properly calibrate. So most people don't actually waste their time with this. Most people just water from the tap.
And that's obviously not good.
No, that's not good, because now the pH of the water, as we saw from the tap, is 7.5.
Yeah.
So what that will do, it will give you a nutrient lockout. But if you are growing in living soil, then that won't be a problem. 7.5 is actually the desired pH. Because in living soil, what you have all the nutrients ready and available, and then you have beneficial microbes in the soil that pH correct whatever water you throw in there.
And where does one get the living soil from? Just the ground.
So living soil is part of what we made here.
Yeah.
We mixed earlier. You know, living soil is just basically soil that has all of its nutrient requirements and pH buffering, which is dolomite lime, which we add into the soil mix. So what dolomite lime will do, it will buffer the pH of the water. If the water is 7, the dolomite will actually buffer it to whatever the plant requires it to, which is actually a very cool science.
So then if you are saying if you've got living soil, there's no need for you to be doing what you're doing. Why are you doing it then?
So with me, I'm doing it so that I'm a fanatic.
Ah.
I just want to make sure that the plant is happy at all times. You know?
Okay.
So I'm doing this from a point of horticultural expertise to actually make sure that the pH is always at the required pH. You know. So whether it's living soil or whether it's not, I always check my pH. So right now the pH is coming up to the desired range of 5.7, which is going to be perfect.
Okay.
As you can see, we are at 5.7 now.
Let me see. Let me show the viewers.
So there we go. That's the desired pH.
Alright.
So what you do is you add the pH down, and if it goes too low, then you add the pH up drop by drop, just to increase it, so it keeps increasing. Oh, the pH pen went off. Here we go. It's back on now.
Okay.
So there we go, 5.7. And then now it's time to feed the plant, or water the plant rather. So what we do now, you would just take a 1 liter can, and then you just take some water into the can, and then we will water our plant. So I choose to water via can because that way I can control how much water I'm giving the plant. And because this plant has been newly transplanted, I will start by watering the outer circumference of the plant.
Why is that the case? If you don't mind us asking.
So what happens is, why I want to water the outside of the plant of the pot is so that the water can run down and compact on the sides first, as opposed to compacting in the middle.
Okay.
And this just ensures that I get water going throughout the whole pot. So water outside the pot again, and wait for the water to go down.
So if this was not a plant that you had just transplanted, right? Is it also still crucial for you to be watering outside, or you can water from the middle?
So last year I encountered a bit of research that was done by a lady in Mexico. So this lady, what she does, she waters the outside of her pot first, and then she waters the inside of her pot. So what happens is, when you water a plant inside a pot, it creates little cracks that run down the soil, you know, and then those cracks are where the water would have just passed, you know. So if you water the plant on the sides first. Then those cracks will occur on the outside of the pot, and then the water will remain and spread just a few centimeters from where it actually initially passed down. So after watering the outside of the pot, so if you had Superman vision, you could actually see the cracks on the soil coming down from the side. And then what that does is it creates air to come in through the top to the root zone. But now what you need also is that after that has happened, the water didn't go throughout the whole pot. It didn't water the whole pot. It just created cracks that just ran down the sides. So when you water the middle of the pot now, what that does is it creates the same cracks, but now these cracks will connect with those cracks that occurred on the outside of the pot, and then it will moisten whatever area was not moistened in the first circle of watering.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want your pot to be completely watered. You don't want your pot to have those cracks. You want your pot to be completely watered. As you can see now, when you water the soil, the pot, there's air bubbles coming up from underneath the soil. And that's a good sign. You want your water replacing all of the air that is in the pot to make sure that your pot is completely saturated with water. And then you leave it.
So do you water it every day, or you have
No.
to? Okay, how often do you have to water it?
So you water when dry.
Ah,
You water when the pot is feeling dry. So right now, after this watering, you will leave the pot to drain all of the water out, and then after 5 to 10 minutes you come back and you pick up the pot. When you pick up the pot, it will give you an indication of how much water is still in there due to the heaviness of the pot. And then you know that's what you want. That's how you want your pot to feel every time.
okay.
So by every time I mean by every after a watering, you want your pot to be heavy, and then you just let it sit for 2 days, 3 days. When you come back and you find that pot light to the touch, like extremely lighter than now, then you know it's time to water.
Okay.
That's how I water my plants, because by doing so I give them enough time to go looking for water, because that's the only way roots grow, if they're looking for water. If they're sitting in water, roots won't grow. They don't have a reason to grow because they have all the water right there. So yeah, that's how you transplant and water a small cannabis plant. So you just give this plant 3 days, and then you come back and you do the same thing. You pH the water to 5.7, and then you water, and then that's that. Remember to always cannabis responsibly.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and share buttons below. We would also appreciate your comments. And remember to cannabis responsibly at all times.